Good morning, class. I want you to go grab a whiteboard and a dry erase marker or some paper and a pencil if you don't have it already. Today we are going to be practicing what we have learned on how to solve problems using the distributive property. Remember, the distributive property is where we break apart a more difficult multiplication problem into two smaller multiplication problems that usually we can solve in our heads. Okay? All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to follow along with me. We're going to do some problems together to refresh our memory since it's been, you probably didn't do any over the weekend, which I don't blame you. So let's refresh our memory and then I will give you some problems to do on your own. So the first problem we're going to do is 9 times 11. So go ahead and write down 9 times 11 on your whiteboard or your paper, whatever you're using. Okay, and then, hang on, I'm going to change what I'm doing here. All right, now you want to think about, well, which ones am I going to break apart? Usually I recommend breaking apart the larger number into smaller numbers. So you could break apart the 11 into two smaller numbers that are more friendly. But also, I could break apart the 9 because 11 is a fairly simple number to multiply with, as all you're doing is doubling the digit. And what I mean by that is 2 times 11 is 22, so 2, 2. 3 times 11 is 33, so 3, 3, and so on. So we're actually going to break apart the 9 because I think that's going to be easier for mental math. So what friendly numbers could we break the 9 into? Well, we need to think about what add-ins go into 9. So there's lots of add-ins that go into 9. 1 plus 8, 2 plus 7, 3 plus 6, 4 plus 5. Which one do we want to use? Well, let's go for the middle and use 4 and 5. So I'm going to break my 9 apart into 4 plus 5. I'm still multiplying by 11. I've just broken my 9 into two smaller numbers. All right, so now I need to distribute the 11 evenly. And this is where you're going to write your two smaller multiplication problems. So instead of 9 times 11, we have 4 times 11 plus 5 times 11. If I'm writing too fast, you can always pause the video wherever you need to. Okay, so now our job is to solve each individual problem and then put it back together. So 4 times 11, I told you that any number times 11, you're going to double the digit. So 4 times 11 is 44. Plus 5 times 11 is 55. Now, if you are one smart cookie, you probably already realized, well, Mrs. Rankin, why can't we just double the 9? 9 times 11, 9, 9. We can, but we're pretending we don't know that because we want to practice the distributive property. 44 plus 55 is not a number we can necessarily do in our heads. You might be able to if you say what 40 plus 50 is 90. 4 plus 5 is 9. But if you can't do it in your head, you can always write it off to the side. And you know you have 9, 9. So this tells me that 9 times 11 equals 99. Okay, so we took this bigger problem, broke it into two smaller problems to get the answer. Okay. Well, if I can get it deleted, that would be great. All right, erase your boards or whatever you're working with. Okay. Let's do another one. This time let's do 7 times 8. All right. So 7 and 8 are pretty close to one another. Um, but let's go ahead and break apart the larger number into a double digit, a double added, which would be 4 and 4. So now we have 7 times 4 plus 4. Okay? And then we want to distribute that to then have 7 times 4 plus 7 times 4. This is the bonus of using add-ins that are the same number, what we call doubles, because I only have to find the answer of 7 times 4. One problem, and it will be the answer for both of these, okay? Now you might say, well, I don't know what 7 times 4 is, and that's okay, but you know that half of 4 is 2. We're learning our 2's facts this week, so I should be able to say what's 7 times 2 and you tell me the answer. But if you haven't memorized it yet, you know that any number times 2 is just double itself. So 7 plus 7 is 14. Now we're not done. So let me show you in a different color. So if 7 times 2 is 14, I need to double that 14 because the 2 is half of 4. So 14 and 14, I'm going to have 28. Okay? So that tells me that 7 times 4 is 28. All right, let me erase that. Okay. All right, so now I have 28 plus 28. This I most definitely need to write on the side and add it up. 16, 1, 5. Okay. So 28 is 20 plus 28 is 56. So that means that 7 times 8, well, my 8 went somewhere, equals 56. We took 7 times 8, we broke it down to 7 times 4 plus 7 times 4, and we got 56. All right, good. Go ahead and erase. Okay, next problem. Let's do 8 times 12. I'm doing all the hard problems with you. Now, let's take this big number, 12, and let's break it into 2 more friendly numbers. There's lots of add-ins that equal 12. I mean, there's 2 plus 10, 3 plus 9, 4 plus 8, 5 plus 7, 6 plus 6. All of those could work. But we want the most friendly numbers. Which of those numbers would be the easiest for us to do in our heads? Hopefully you're thinking 2 and 10. Those are both skip counting numbers. We can do those in our heads. So we're going to break our 12 into 2 plus 10. Now let's distribute and make our 2 smaller problems. So we have 8 times 12 plus 8 times 10. Okay, 8 times 2, 8 plus 8 is 16. 8 times 10, you can count by tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Okay, 80 plus 10 is 90, plus 6 is 96. So that tells me that 8 times 12 is 96. I took 8 times 12, I broke it into 8 times 2 plus 8 times 10, and I got 96. All right, go ahead and erase. I'm going to do another hard one, and then I'm going to give you one. Okay, let's do 11 times 11. Now, you can't say the double thing here because that trick with 11s only works with the single-digit numbers. So 11 times 11. But we can take one of these 11s and break them down into a single-digit number. All right, so let's keep this one. 11 times, what are we going to break this 11 down into? Last time we did, no, we didn't break it down. We broke the 9 down last time. Okay, so 11. What do you want to break it down to? There's 9 and 2. There's 8 and 3, 7 and 4, 6 and 5. Let's do 6 and 5. All right. So 6 plus 5. So now I have 11 times 6 plus 11 times 5. Now I can double it. So like 11 times 6 is 6 twice, 66. 11 times 5 is 5 twice. If you wanted to break this in your head, you could say 60 plus 50 is 110. 6 plus 5 is 11. 110 plus 11. You could do it that way. Or you just write it on the side. 7. So 11 times 11 equals 121. Took 11 times 11, made 2 smaller multiplication problems, and found the total of 121. Go ahead and erase. All right. Your turn. Now, I'm going to give you a problem that you already probably know how to do in your head, which is great, but I want you to pretend you don't. I want you to take this problem, and I want you to solve it using the distributive property. I'm going to get you going. Fill in my blanks. Blank plus blank. Then you're going to do 2 times blank blank plus blank. Answer. All right, go ahead. Recording. Oh, thank you. A few more seconds. Now, there's lots of different ways that you could break this 7 apart. You could do 4 and 3, you could do 5 and 2, you could do 6 and 1. But we want to pick the most friendly numbers, which to me 5 and 2 are the most friendly numbers because they're easy skip count numbers. So 2 times, and we have 2 plus 5. If you didn't use 2 plus 5, if you use 3 plus 4, or even 6 plus 1, that's fine too, okay? Just make sure you did the steps the same way, and you'll get the same answer. So then you should have distributed, and you would have had 2 times 2 plus 2 times 5. Okay? Now I'm going to multiply this, multiply that, and get those sums. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 5 is 10. 4 plus 10 is 14. You're probably saying, well, I already knew my 2's. I bet you did, but we're going to pretend sometimes to show that we know how to use the distributive property. No matter which 2 add-ins you used, whether it was 3 and 4, 6 and 1, 5 and 2, you still should have got the answer of 14. If you did not, you need to look back and see where you could have made your mistake. Okay? All right. I'm going to give you another problem to do. Let's do a new color. How about that? Let's do some blue. All right. Here we go. Another one you probably know how to do. 6 times 3. Okay. So I'm going to have you break apart the larger number. So you need to find out what plus what equals 6. Then we're going to multiply it by 3. Then you're going to have blank times 3 plus Blank times 3. Blank plus blank equals blank. All right, go for it. Okay, if you need more time, just pause the video. Now, you could have broken your 6 into the doubles, which would be 3 and 3. You could have done 4 and 2. You could have done 5 and 1. I think I'm going to go with 5 and 1. And the reason being is that 1, well, we know with the identity property, any number times 1 equals that number. And 5 is an easy skip count number. So let's say 1 and 5. You could have done 3 and 3. You could have done 4 and 2. You might be kicking yourself right now because you realized 1 and 5 was really easy. So then you would have had 1 times 3, 5 times 3. 1 times 3 is 3. 5 times 3 is 5, 10, 15. 3 plus 15 is 18. So 6 times 3 equals 18. No matter which add-ins you used here, you should have gotten 18. All right, let's do another. Erase. Okay, this time I'm going to write the problem, but I'm not going to write down all those steps. So I hope that you remember them all. I want you to solve four times 11 using the distributive property. Go ahead and pause your video until you're finished. All right, I didn't tell you which number to break apart this time. I left it up to you. So you could have broken apart your 4 to have 2 times 11 and 2 times 11. Or you could have broken apart your 11 into 9 and 2, 10 and 1. If you learned anything from the last one, look, watch this. 4 times 10 plus 1. I hope some of you are laughing right now because you picked the same thing. The nice thing about the distributive property is you get the choice. You get to pick the numbers that you're working with. Okay? Always try to find the easiest numbers to work with because you want to be able to do as much of this in your head as possible. Otherwise, it's just making more work for yourself. So 4 times 10 is 40. 4 times 1 is 4. 40 plus 4 is 44. So 4 times 11 equals 44. No matter whether you broke apart the 4 or broke apart the 11 or what add-ins you broke them into, you should have gotten 44. And if you did not, then you need to go back and look and see what mistakes did you make. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Let's try. Ooh, let's try. No, I don't think you guys can do that one yet. let's do it. Okay. I have faith in you. Probably many of you's jaws have dropped. And you're saying, oh my gosh. But you can do this. Go ahead and pause the video so you can take your time, solve this using distributive property. Do not press play until you have finished solving the problem. Okay, if you're back, then you've finished solving your problem. So, it doesn't really matter which one that we break apart. They're both 12s. But we're solving for 12 times now. Let's see what you broke yours apart to. Remember I told you, you always want to think, what are going to be the easiest numbers to solve in my head? Right? 9 and 3, not so easy. Not so easy at all. What about 7 and 5? 5 is a skip count number, but 7 not so much. What about 6 and 6? Not really. Is there a friendlier set of numbers? There is. Who thought of 10 plus 2? If you thought of 10 plus 2, those are way easy skip counting numbers. So let's do those. 2 and 10. Boom. I know that anything times 2, I'm just doubling that number, right? And I know that times 10, I can skip count, or I can even use the zeros trick, which I'm going to remind you about that in a second. So 12 times 2 would be 12 plus 12, right? I'm sure you can do it in your head, but I'm just going to show you, which is 24. Now, here we go. You're probably saying, I don't remember what the zeros trick is. Whoops, my eraser's not working. I don't remember what the zeros trick is, so I'm about to show you. So 12 times 10. Anything times 10, you just add a 0 at the end. 2 times 10, 20. 3 times 10, 30. 6 times 10, 60. 11 times 10, 11 and a 0, 110. 10 times 10, 10 and a 0, 100. So that means 12 times 10 using the zeros rule. You got 12, put the 0 there, and it's 120. That's what makes 10s easy with bigger numbers. Okay. All right. I mean, you could skip count by 10, 12 times. But if you remember that all you do is add a 0 to the end of this number, then you're good to go. Now we just need to add this up. You can do this in your head. Watch what I'm going to do. 120 plus 20 would be 140. Then add your 4. 144. No matter how you broke this apart, you should have gotten to the answer of 144. If you did not, check your work. All right, in your file for math today, you're going to see some PDFs with some problems. I want you to practice using distributive property to solve these problems. Even if you already know the answer to the problem. Why is this not erasing? Oh my goodness, did you see that? Everything came back. Even if you already know the answer to the problem, I want you to pretend that you do not, just to demonstrate the distributive property. Okay, you're not going to be uploading these and sending these to me, but I'm trusting you that you will do the practice problems. Okay, so go into your math folder and print it off if you have a printer. If you do not have a printer, just write the problems down in your math journal. Solve them using distributive property. Have fun learning.